Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the latest session in our global forum. Thank you again to David Wall and to Matthew Crabb for our last session on closing the test automation loop. In this session, I'm delighted, very much delighted, that I am joined to discuss how you measure and manage and ensure delivering consistent quality across diverse software selection development projects and work streams. It's a very major challenge that we at QA Vector Research have been undertaking our own initiative on, and I'm delighted that we've been working with Paula Milani, who is IT manager at Cielo, the largest credit card processing company in Brazil. Paula Milani is going to share with us the benefits of some of her experience and of her experience in working with us at QA Vector Research. So, Anna, thank you very much for joining us. May I start by asking you to give us a brief explanation of what Cielo's business is and what is your role within that business?
Oh, sure. Hello, everybody. Well, we are a retailing technology and services company, which leads the electronic payment processing segment in Latin America. Our belief is to move the market, and payment is the gateway to several intelligent and connected services. We offer a portfolio of solutions to meet more than 1.2 million active customers' needs, from individual entrepreneurs to larger retailers spread across the country. We are unstoppable. I mean, we are a combination of machine, internet, cell phone, and whatever comes. We believe that no business was born to stand still, and our mission is to arouse the same feeling in each of our customers. Our purpose is to simplify and boost business to everyone, and our vision is to be the most desired intelligent platform in Brazilian market. Nowadays, I'm a head of QA team at Cielo. We are 46 people and more than 100 outsourced partners focused on QA. We have 27 squads and run more than 100 business projects per year. I think is it.
That's great. Thank you, Anna. I know that you have made very significant moves in the adoption of Agile, or taking a DevOps approach. You started with a lot of projects that are in waterfall, and I now am aware that you have also running at the same time DevOps style work streams. So how have you managed that transition, that quality delivery across projects and work streams?
Well, first of all, the migration to an agile model requires a lot of flexibility from the professionals. And many times we face the dilemma between flexibility and lack of quality. It's a difficult dilemma. In order not to let the lack of quality becomes routine, it is important to consider adopting enabling technologies and platforms in the agile process, which facilitates people's daily lives, such as automation framework, an adoption of platforms that enable shift left in practice, and also be careful not to get the process stuck with quality gates only the end of the process.
So does that mean you've actually had to change some of the ways that you manage and deliver quality as you move from waterfall to agile?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I explain exactly the way I did that. We changed a lot. Just soft skill and hard skills, people and technology together.
So that was a matter of both retraining your QA specialists to deliver their expertise in a different way, but presumably also retraining developers to think quality in the way that they develop. Did you find either one of those more challenging or easier to execute?
Well, the move to agile world implies in a model of a great autonomy, which does not mean that everything is allowed. It is important to monitor, and indicators is the best for this purpose. In a cascade model, KPIs were used to make decisions and monitor progress. Since it is more common to look at the rear view mirror, in an agile model, KPI should be used to learn and assess opportunity to improve both efficiency and effectiveness. On the other hand, it is essential to consider OKRs to focus at the future. And that way to work changes how people work in day by day.
So you're using benchmarks and KPIs to then show people when they're being more effective, when they're being less effective, not just show management upwards for resource allocation, but actually show the people doing the work. When you work in this way, you're more effective. That way, you're less effective. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, exactly. It's important to see the rear view mirror, to see what you were doing, and to focus on the OKR to point to get the goals to the future. And all the things is important all the time.
So when we started working together, we had a vision for QA vector research that we were aware that it was very difficult for banks to measure the ROI on their quality effort, to actually have those objective measures. We worked in the last year with the Bank of England and with a range of other firms, and I'm delighted that we started working with you, Anna, at Cielo earlier this year. I think it was late last year, in fact, that you provided us with a data set. And I'm just going to share with our audience one slide, because the greater detail, of course, is confidential, but one slide from our work together. We looked at a series of metrics. We've done this work now for a large number of firms, and our database contains approaching 50 projects across about 15 firms that comprises traditional banks and fintechs and challenger banks, comprises agile and hybrid and traditional waterfall projects, and a variety of flavor of projects. We look at a number of factors. We look at, obviously, defect escape rates, on-time delivery, the amount of effort that goes into quality assurance and testing, the amount of effort that goes into code and software remediation, and the amount of effort that goes into overall development. And that allows us, and there's one or two other components, and that allows us to create an overall sense of how effective firms are in delivering on quality. That's the execution score. What proportion of the spend is spent on delivering that quality, so the overall spend score. And then the ratio of how much quality you're getting per spend, which is the size of the bubbles. And what we see here is, I'm pointing at the Cielo average, which is towards the top right. Actually, that's very high for a firm that is a relatively traditional firm. Most of the firms who get the very highest scores are pure DevOps, very recent firms who have the luxury of not having to manage legacy and transitions. For traditional firms, it's more usual that initially it costs them more to deliver effective quality, and therefore their efficiency drops a little as they become agile. You've managed to maintain your efficiency as you've become more agile. And that's quite impressive to see. Why do you see measuring your quality efficiency, as we see on the screen, as an important factor to measure? Is it about developing a sense of ROI, return on the spend and quality, effort on quality?
Well, Justyn, when you are looking in-house, we can compare each of our unit results among them, compare the results for different methods and different results from projects of the same nature, in order to conclude which is the best thing we did. However, we cannot forget the reference and trends of the market. And we may be the best of what we have been so far, but distance from the trends and that may favor us. It was a great surprise to see QA vector results, and Cielo is well placed compared to the players and also in a global market. You know, it's a great news to see this chart.
Well, that's great, but if without wishing to be too indiscreet, of course, some of your scores, some of the projects and work streams outperformed other projects and work streams. Can you give us some examples of how you were able to use those insights, how it could affect your management decisions, but also what you could explain to your managers upstream or your team downstream?
Okay, sure. For Agile model, we introduced enabling platforms over the last years, which affected the process positively. Although we have surpassed each period, monitoring by OKRs, and we didn't have a good benchmark to compare until recently. QA Vector let us realize we made a good investment choices aligned to the market trends. There is a very particular case, as you mentioned, which represent our core relationship with credit card brands and banks, where we invest the most. Yeah? However, it is important to have in mind, we must keep looking for better benefits, and we are working on that.
And how does that mean that you'll use some of this to change your approach going forwards, do you think?
Sorry, I can hear you well.
Can you give any examples of how you may use some of the insights that we were able to share to change what you are doing going forwards?
Okay. The best data we can collect is from the production, the errors and defects and incidents in production. We collect them and compare what we are doing before going production. So to keep the benefits and the costs of investments in a good balance, you know. So we collected the production data and compare to the test strategy to keep this balance fair. It's just a compare of information, product and information, production information, and test strategic information.
So it allows you to validate model shifts, but also to fine-tune resource allocation. That's what I'm understanding. Is that a fair observation?
Okay, it is that.
Good. And one of the things that I would say I've observed, perhaps less so from the data from Cielo, but particularly from when I look at some of the more DevOps shops, is we see that the more successful and more efficient DevOps shops have relatively high defect escape ratios. And traditionally, one of the key measures that QA managers have looked for is to reduce the defect escape ratio. In fact, in the app world, too great an emphasis on defect escapes means you take too long to deliver software. Learning to live with using your users as your testers, so that your customers become your testers, but then remediating fast. That is an important change of almost, you could say, philosophy or culture. Have you found that that is a change that you are beginning to learn at Cielo?
Okay, it's about the products, the more defects in production. It is that?
Living with a higher level of defect in production.
Okay. Well, of course, we are constantly working to increase the quality at all, but quality is a process. We must need time to get high mature, and for new business, new challenges are presented, and we are acquiring this maturity over the time. The products where we had defect escapes in production have some characteristics. They are less mature and more recent squads, where everyone is working together to improve the software engineering, the architecture, and quality process. Even being less mature, it is already possible to see clear quality results. The product owner goes to implementation despite the known errors, aiming better benefits and critical functionalities expected by the clients. In this case, the value for money, its what counts, and calculated risks are taken. There is another case where we have been strongly working on an automation regression testing, which has been improving in each version. This situation is crystal clear to all the squad and all the company. The risks are already known. And if we pay attention at the timeline, it is possible to see a continuous improvement.
So it is a little bit about learning to live with that slightly different price to pay to get that critical improvement out quickly, even if some of the detail has to be corrected with rapid remediation.
Sorry?
That if you can get the critical changes, the most important changes, delivered to the business quickly, it's acceptable to live with some small defects, which you can remediate quickly, you can correct quickly when they are identified.
Oh, exactly. It's all about calculated risks, you know. It is correct. Sometimes we need to make choices and decide a critical. It's a critical decision, but all the information is on the table and clear for all the company to take the decision.
Sure. So one of the areas that we looked at was some of your development programs that where the software makes strong use of AI, particularly some of your chatbot projects. Interestingly, we found that these were some of your most efficient projects in terms of ensuring quality. Why do you think that is? What are you doing right in those projects? What do you think is the success in those particular projects?
You know, there is an interesting case because we have used AI on software solution, but we don't using it on the testing method. We have evolved over the last years to keep the continuous regression test of our core application. This is the key of the great quality and great score. Some of these apps are more than 20 years old with endless rules and business concepts not always clear. So for us, it's very important to keep the regression testing on. We have based our approach in critical regression testing on ISO 8583 unitary testing. ISO is the protocol of payment authorization. I think it's a global pattern. And each field of the messaging is explored in its domain via automated testing. Nowadays, we have more than 90 functional cover of tests that represents more than 95% of our financial volume. Another critical business for us is our clients' payment, where we could include our end-to-end regression tests in a very innovative way. We have considered the data flow of the business chain with all the variation of existed rules. The database automation for us is more resilient and more performative than a traditional application-based automations. These two kinds of regression automation testing, authorization and payment, have been used for any project in the company. The key point These two kinds of regression automated testing is in a service structure that provides results for any project or any squad in the company. They are not limited by systems, projects, or squads boundaries. The regression automated test is on a tactical layer.
So we've heard a lot today about continuous testing and continuous automation. You are using a great deal of very traditional regression testing as part of what you do in unit testing. Have you applied widely continuous testing methodologies and continuous automation, or is that still to come?
It's a hybrid, because we have an old application that is not possible in mainframe to apply the DevOps methods. So it's hybrid. It's a hybrid combination with the new applications where we put in the pipeline and run the tests every cycle, every day, every 4 hours. It's a hybrid method.
So again, we've heard a great deal about the use of software as a service and external software as a service suppliers being used. Do you make use of much SaaS in your workflows? And do you find challenges with the API and updates of those APIs into and out of any of those applications?
Yeah, so some applicants enable us to apply this kind of testing. We have in mind the test pyramid, and we apply special techniques for each layer of pyramid. I mentioned in this case the unitary testing, but in the middle of the pyramid, we have you use service virtualization to test APIs. It's have been very efficient. And the ends of the pyramid, the end-to-end testing for more stuck applications,
So going forwards, we've heard a lot today about different changes that are expected. What changes do you see in the needs of Cielo in the period of the next 2 years? And how do you think that will impact your quality journey? How will that impact your resource allocation and effort allocation?
Okay. Well, we have concluded that our functional test enabling platform was quite assertive. Our intention is to do the same with performance testing. Although there is a test practice at Cielo, its benefits should be earlier activated in the software engineering chain. We should include these test practices since the first developed component. It is necessary to enable the dev team to make use the benefit. We need to do that immediately. We also know that we must improve some architecture quality standard, particularly application resilience. We have a lot of to do about this. And one more thing is there are opportunities to expand the use of behavior-driven development, nowadays widely used by QA. And we understand that the best benefits, it's when the PO writes stories using BDD, where the developer and the QA use the same inputs to work. The BDD is very present in the automation framework, and we have the opportunity to expand its use to other roles.
I guess I couldn't finish my questions to you without asking one very obvious and very important question, which is, we hope that we may this year come to the end of the pandemic. but when we look back over the last 12 months and we look forward over the next 12 months, are there changes in working practice that you've seen that are imposed on you by the pandemic, caused by the pandemic, which you think will continue even after the pandemic is over? Are there good lessons that we've learned that you will apply going forward?
Well, fortunately, we have our testing platform very established when the pandemic begins. So it was not a problem. It was not a technical problem. We doesn't have any technical problem or follow the goals, the objectives. We have to. It was necessary to repair the communication, to establish another kind of communication for our people. I think this is the more important thing we have to do immediately in March 2020 to establish the clear information about the teams, about with the users, with the sponsors of the project. I think we have to change a lot of our communication, you know. I think it's the best thing in mind I have.
So learning to communicate, making the most use of remote access tools, I'm sure. It's a very neat segue for me to say that in our next session, which begins at the top of the hour, my colleague, Matthew Crabb, will introduce Aaron Kinsbrunner, who's the Chief Evangelist and Product Manager of Perforce, and Stefan Molte, who's the QA Manager at Intact Financial Corporation. And the focus of their conversation is going to be around pandemic-driven testing and best practices for the next normal. So allow me, please, to thank you very much indeed, Anna, for all of your interesting insights, for your contributions. I look forward to our continued work together at Cielo on QA Vector Analytics.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for all my team to bring me here. Thank you.
Thank you.